Okay, so allow me to read the presentation at the room. We have two people that somehow their flights got modified. Not pointing fingers at anyone. But we're going to cover Intune Mac OS management today. Huge deal for us from Intune perspective. If you saw the announcement that we made last week, now it's the time to truly move all of the Mac management to Intune. We have phenomenal capabilities from everything from platform SSO that's coming up. We have the app management, and we have a bunch of capabilities that I'm not going to bore you here because we have experts on the phone that sounds much better than me and look much better than me to be able to cover some of this information as well. So I will let Jason and Andy introduce themselves.
Hey guys, I'm Jason Rozek. I think I probably met most of you before, so I'm our CPO for the Intune team. Nice to see you all again virtually. Apologies. I was joking with Lior. I think everybody is playing the calendar shuffle game with Ignite this week. So sorry I couldn't be there in person.
Hey everyone, Andy Surratt. I'm the PM manager who oversees Apple device management for Intune.
Andy's the one who argues with all the Windows guys because he believes Apple Macs are better than Windows, but we're gonna try to cure him of that in the long run.
I'm the only messenger, so blame Andy for it.
Hey, no, I need to share the what folks need to worry about, Jason. I think that's really what it is.
I like
the reality of what's going on.
So Andy, in a sense of you're gonna run the first at least half an hour. You want to take control over this deck?
Yeah, that'd be great. Let me.
Yeah, so ask the control, and I'm gonna give it to you.
Hey guys, while Andy does that, I would make an ask of the room. So look, you're going to hear us at Ignite this week kind of say loud and clear, we think we're best in breed when it comes to modern Mac management. I almost look at it similar to Windows, just like there's things SCCM does that Intune just won't do. We kind of look at it similar to Jamf. There's things that Jamf does that we see as kind of a bit traditional compared to how we're looking to manage Macs. But I'm curious, you'll hear us kind of start saying going forward, we'll take the Pepsi challenge against anybody when it comes to Mac. So Andy's going to deep dive into the nitty gritty, but I'd love to hear from you guys afterwards. It feels like we're there. If you guys look at this presentation and still think we're not there, I'd love to hear that feedback.
Yeah. Just one quick second. But yeah, when he speaks, I'm going to fix something because I can give Andy controls.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, Microsoft Teams. I blame it.
It's definitely not driver.
No, it's definitely not the drive. Okay, Andy, now you can ask for access. Drive the deck.
What? It's like not showing me yet.
While we're figuring that out, how many people here have macOS in your organizations?
Yes.
Okay. And what are you using, just shout out, what are you using to manage it? How many of them are not managed at all? You can raise your hands. I saw one hand.
We have Intune, Nothing, and Mariah.
All right, so it's always interesting to me, the people that don't have anything at all to manage macOS. Their users are administrators, they're not managing them at all. But it's always interesting to me, so I'd love to talk to you about why that is. We can talk after this.
Okay, and you can kick off, and I'm gonna fix it in 1 second. You see how organized we are, right? Okay, we good.
Are you just? I'm gonna do the old like slideshow. I don't know. It's not letting me take over. So, Lior, I might just like the beat.
Just wink it to me, and I'm gonna move a slide.
All right, now it says I'm presenter. Okay, yeah, just move to the next. I mean, basically the overview. We're gonna talk about a bunch of changes. So like, let's take a quick step back. We obviously haven't been able to manage what you needed us to manage for. We're not that anymore. So come take a look at what we're offering. We've been investing heavily If you haven't looked at us in a year, I think you're going to be surprised. If you haven't looked at us in 6 months, you're going to be surprised. We've been doing a lot of investment in macOS. We're going to cover that today. We're going to talk it through an overview, go through device configuration, and really how that leads to us being able to drive the kind of modern management future. All of the new changes in onboarding, which is some other big features like platform SSO, all the new gaps that we've addressed in app management, and we can wrap it up in Q&A. We do have a little less time than normal, although Lior, I've figured out how I can stay a little longer. So I am going to go through some stuff a little faster. This presentation's a little longer than the time we have, but we still can cover everything we need. If you want to go to the next slide, please.
You have control because you took the control away from me.
Did it?
Yes, it's showing me that they cannot move slides.
It is. Oh my goodness.
Fun.
All right, let me just then share the deck myself.
Yeah, can Andy just share his screen, Lior, and then you show yours on the.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Microsoft Teams is shared over here, so we got. Yeah, if Andy shares, we should see it. Yeah.
All right. You guys see that?
Yeah.
All right, overview. So, I mean, let's talk about the challenges we've been seeing in general, like, protecting your against endpoint attacks and data compromise. This is why it's so important that those unmanaged Macs get managed. We've been talking to a lot of customers that haven't been managing Macs. So, you need to manage and protect every single one of those. So some of you are using other MDMs. That's great. Some use Intune. But if you're not managing, that should be an easy thing for anybody to jump into Intune and start managing these Macs. So improve the decision making through simplified IT management. This is the single pane of glass. This is using our intelligent cloud to be able to provide data. There's going to be a whole bunch of new and exciting features, discussed at Ignite. But ultimately, to get to the new awesomeness, you really need to get your data into one place. And you all know what's going to be the buzzword that's going around in terms of AI. And so really being able to manage all of your devices through that single pane of glass puts the data all in a single place and then allows for all that critical data to be put through the next level of AI to be able to help see different trends of data that we haven't seen before. And we were working with some customers that were like walking through the potential there on trends that you may not even realize and how AI could solve their problems for that. Obviously, with cutting operational costs, one of the things people look at is, hey, how many licenses am I paying for today and now with another MDM vendor when it comes to macOS? But the thing to think about is the growing trend on Mac in terms of device choice. I don't know how many out there are looking at device choice, but we've been having that discussion with a lot of customers. In fact, like we have a customer, they said, hey, I got 200 Macs today and I want to bring them to Intune, but it's going to be like 2,000 in a year. And so you have to look at that licensing cost, not just today, but what that growth is going to look like. And that's why coming to Intune will allow you to cut that cost. All you need is M365. And then focusing on employee experience. So again, it's going to be less overhead to manage that. A lot of what we're doing is taking the same experiences and applying them. We're working hard with our Windows counterparts, so there's familiarity there in both how you manage the devices, but also some of the experiences that we'll have. The platforms are going to be different, of course, like we can't get away from that, but we want to make this easier with a lot less overhead. I'm going to show you an exciting new feature for onboarding that we're planning to bring to all platforms for compliance remediation. And so things like that you'll see more and more of as we continue to grow. All right, so kind of why Intune for Macs? Again, modern management. We'll get into that and what that really solves. But we are a zero trust foundation in M365 for Mac. So we want to make sure that we're providing all of the latest and greatest features for you. And I got some cool ones to show you later. And really that's driven off the DDM, or Declarative Device Management Protocol. I mean, that's Apple's new version of management. Today, now it sits side by side with MDM, but they're building all of their new features there. And I'm going to show you why what we've built will help, power us through and have all these new features in your hands as quickly as possible. Platform first and beyond. So, we make sure that we have all of the settings and all of the features ready for day zero. We've also added an Intune agent on Mac, right? And so that was one of the things in the past. We tried to be all cloud, but based on customer need and discussions with us, we went and built that agent because that was really the missing piece for a lot of customers. Of course, secure productivity, conditional access. That's been a huge piece of our story. It's giant. Excuse me, sorry. It's been a giant motivator for a lot of your on iOS, of course, on Android and Windows, and macOS as well. In fact, I bet a bunch of you are using, Jamf integration with our compliance APIs today and now. And so making sure conditional access is baked in is critical. But I'm also going to show you again how we're going to improve the experience with Intune. And then there's other security solutions. Obviously, MFA with our Entra ID is critical. And Defender being integrated, also critical, all to keep these devices secure. And then finally, we support open source. We know, on the Mac side, especially, open source is a critical and viable solution. We have some very large customers who've had some great success utilizing open source projects. So we want to make sure that we can leverage those, make it so you can easily configure them and everything.
Any question? Do you want to take questions throughout this session, or you want to wait for the end?
Let's wait for the end, just in the interest of time, because I got some better stuff coming. So, all right. So, just kind of showing you here, we support all of these different capabilities on macOS. I think there's critical ones, just showing what they are. Here's what we've recently released. As I mentioned, we've been busy. We've been delivering all of these functionality, all of the things that people need, and now they are available. And then we have what's coming. So a lot of new features coming soon, or just released last month. And so we've been ensuring that the features you need to deploy macOS in your environments are going to be there. All right, so let's talk about device configuration. When I took over this area about a little over 5 years ago, this was one of the areas I wanted to go tackle. So it took us a long time to get all of these different settings in there. We had different payloads we didn't support. And so we really wanted to dive in and figure out how to solve that, right? How do we make sure we get these settings out fast? How do we make sure we get them out in time of day zero? And so we've revamped our entire infrastructure to be able to do that. So we'll talk about that and the outcomes. This whole thing is going to be automated. So, again, it's a huge ability for us to deliver because we now have an automated system. We'll soon be bringing what we call commands into settings catalog. So Apple has a couple settings, like when you configure a Bluetooth setting, it's actually a command. So we've built that in. And then we'll talk a little bit about declarative device management, which is the new awesomeness that Apple's delivered. So this is one of my favorite slides, only because it shows what we're doing visually. So over here to the left, this is Apple's YAML. So we basically can go to their repo, and they publish all of their different settings to this repo. And we automatically go out, collect that information, put it into our own schema format, right? We process that each sprint, so each month, basically, ready for the next release, and that generates a setting in our UI, right? So these settings are coming each month. Yeah, I think when Apple announced these for WWDC, we had them in our service in June and ready to go out for the July release. And so we've completely automated this process. And so when, Jason had mentioned looking to the future, this is exactly what we're talking about. Right. All right, and you can see, again, don't need to get into super details about the different commands, but we are building out this infrastructure. So if first we started with basic settings, we're now going to be making sure we can handle the different commands through here. And we'll be adding different UI on top of it. So our day zero support is basically any setting that Apple makes available. We are going to automate, make it available to the admin. And then you'll see us over time. We may improve the UI. We may, a good example is the software updates I'm going to show you. We are going to add some easier to use UI, but you will never not have UI. You won't have to go use a custom profile or anything. We'll have it in there immediately and make it available to you. Okay. So quickly, why is DDM important? I'm going to go fast through this, but basically, MDM itself is extremely reactive. If you've ever seen it's go back and forth. The device needs to be check in. So the service has to say, hey, device, come check in. And the device has to be active. If the device isn't active, like an iOS or Mac device, it will get a not now from Apple, which means I'm going to wait to check in when my user actually signs on. And so you have to wait for that device to check in, then send down the different information, whether that's a query or a command to tell it what to do. Declarative device management moves to the ability for you as an admin to declare what you want this device to do, right? So you send down configuration policy, and then the device will react based on that. You don't need to check in, and I'm going to show you that with software updates. It will just actually do what's needed. And then once it does what's needed, it will send a status update to the service. So it's a lot less chatty. It's a lot more explicit. And we are really excited about what this means for the future. So Apple had announced at WWDC the new software updates. They have apps coming out. We're hoping early next year. And so they're rebuilding kind of MDM through this option. All right. All right, so let's see, if we rebuilt this architecture, and here's Apple's big new first feature on declarative device management. So we call it declarative software updates. All right, so you go into the settings catalog and create a new policy. And in this case, you add your declarative device software update policy, and you can see the different settings. So I'm gonna So you put the URL of these details. So this URL here is any URL you want. This could be, we're setting support.apple. This could be your own SharePoint site. This could be anything. Just basically more information you want to provide your user. You can see there's a target build version, a date and time that you want this to happen. And then you target normally. So then on this device, you can see it. Basically, you can see the notification happen to your user, right? An update to macOS 14 has been scheduled and a date and time. The user has the option to pick, update now, or they could wait. But whatever that date and time the buy is, that's going to force the update. And so this is where we're showing that organizational help URL was that URL you set in your policy. So you have that set. You can send it down to your users so they can get more information. But again, you can see the experience is far superior. Your user is getting an interactive notification. They can click not now. They can and wait till the deadline approaches, or they can install it now and go through this and get more information about it. And this is all part of our declarative device management feature set. See, we're just showing you the URL. And so this released last month, and it's the start of what you'll see is more and more declarative device management features. And we're quite excited to have this for all of you, our customers. And again, think in terms of declarative device management, we are ahead. We are going to stay ahead. We are going to lead the pack in this new form of management. Okay. So what's next? Kind of talking about, we did declarative software updates. You're going to see some UI enhancements to clean up, make it easier for all of you. And we'll have some more enhanced reporting coming out. We're adding device-driven templates. So if you think of our old style, we had what we called templates as policy. Some people liked that. They were curated. They were kind of, you just would go and pick the one you needed. So as we move forward, we will be rebuilding those curated settings, or basically based on the payload, and adding them, but using that underlying new functionality, or the architecture that we built. We'll be continuing to add those commands, and then file upload support for payloads. So basically providing you the ability to do that as well. So we're continuing to work on this new architecture, and we're pretty excited to have this because it means we can get this out to you much faster. All right. So onboarding. This is the exciting piece, right? So we have platform SSO, local account management, await final configuration, and just-in-time compliance. So this is really taking onboarding to the next level, filling some gaps that customers were asking for, and also having future-facing things like platform SSO and just-in-time compliance. So for platform SSO, the login with your Entra password. So for those not aware of platform SSO, it's really the feature that's going to bind that local account with your Entra ID or your Azure AD password. And so, Jamf Connect does this today and now, but not to the same degree. This is using tokens. This is having it secured with the secure enclave. And so this is really an amazing new feature that Apple has built into the OS, that Entra ID has now built into the SSO extension, and extended the functionality out. All right, and so this is just kind of the settings. It's in the regular extensible single sign-on policy. You'll go and set up now platform SSO. So it's a new setting amongst the other ones. All right. Additionally, so platform SSO coming out with macOS 14, there's new authentication methods. So smart card is a big ask from a lot of customers. So now that will be supported. There's something called new user authorization mode. So we're still looking into how to best leverage this and make it available to you, but you can actually set the users to have certain authorization on the device, right? And so you can see standard admin groups, etc. I think some people will call this like a lightweight EPM in a lot of ways. And so that will be something we're working to add. And then enable create user at login. So in the flow I'm going to show you, it's a kind of a single user experience. We try to think of it as like I'm shipping this Mac right to you and your user will sign into it. Enable create user at login. What that is, it's more of a device that's going to be handled first. So the first user or the admin will go in and actually register the device, and then they can sign out. And then the next user who logs in can actually go in and create a user when they log into the device. And so this is also a great new feature that was added. We're hoping to see something similar to this added to the single user, but we've been giving feedback to Apple about bringing that. Okay. And then it really ties together with account management. So this is something that we've added. We have private preview actually available now. If you want it to get hands-on, let me know. I can get you in there. We're working hard to be getting this into public preview, actually to GA this. We have preview here, but we're actually looking to skip. We've had nothing but great experiences in private preview, so we're just going to get that out in everyone's hands. But essentially, you can imagine you're going to create that account, default the information in. I think if you're familiar with Mac management, you've seen this. When you're using an automated device enrollment, you have to create a local account, and this just makes it easier. Await final configuration. So this is the feature that ensures that during Setup Assistant, we are deploying the security policies that are most important to you, and making sure that that user is still in the Setup Assistant before we release them to the desktop. And again, this kind of is paired with the local account creation, and so both of them are kind of being ushered out at the same time. We're actually the best way to utilize this currently is with filters that will get the most of those apps and policies to your device the fastest. We're also looking at releasing a new feature in early Q1, which is called enrollment time grouping. And enrollment time grouping will be the ability for you in our ADE enrollment profile to target the group directly. So you can imagine in that case, you're going to say, hey, here's all of these devices that I've targeted with this enrollment profile. Maybe it's a shared device, maybe it's a single user device, but you're going to say, when this device checks in, I want it to be targeted with this static group. And what the Intune service will do is it will know instantly that anything you targeted to that device, or more importantly to that group, will be sent to that device during that first check-in. I'm sure all of you have run into issues with dynamic grouping and the time it takes for that to calculate. So enrollment time grouping will solve that problem, and you pair that with await final configuration, and you really have a great secure solution to onboard your users. All right. And then just-in-time compliance. So we built this, we released this on iOS. It's already GA'd. And as part of all of the work we're doing for Platform SSO, we're bringing it to Mac. So the great thing about just-in-time compliance is it brings the compliance remediation flow to your users, right? They don't need to go to a company portal. No one knows really what the company portal is. We're bringing the experience to them instead. So what they're going to see is, hey, they need to remediate, in this case, update your device's operating system. I think Jason wishes he had this about a week ago when he had to update his operating system, and would have been able to get this right here while he was trying to get to Outlook or getting to Teams, because that's ultimately what the users are trying to do. They're trying to be productive. And so we bring this experience right to them. This is also where I mentioned we are bringing this whole experience to all of our platforms. So iOS was just the start. We're bringing it to Mac. We're then working to bring it to Windows and then Android and finally Linux. So we want to bring this experience to the users, again, so they don't need to go hunting around to figure out how to get active. We know where they want to be. That is productive. And so we're bringing the messaging there. Okay. All right, so let's take a quick look at our platform SSO with passwordless Entra Auth. All right, again, so let's set the stage here. So I just shipped Lior his brand new Mac. He's unboxing it, and he's going through Apple's Ubi, which is the setup assistant, to get it up and running. This screen here is what we call Setup Assistant Modern Auth. So this is where your user would need to authenticate. In this case, is passwordless, so it's just an MFA prompt. When they authenticate, this is a secure solution. Oh, hold on. And it also binds that user to that device, so it establishes user affinity. What you saw here is we actually had to enter the username and password. This is what local account creation will solve. It's just not in this particular demo, but this would all default in automatically. All right. All right, so now the user is on the device. They're going to get that notification. See that in the top right-hand corner? So this is a platform notification. So macOS itself is notifying the user because there is a platform SSO policy that has been installed on this device. So they need to register the device. The user can click on this. Right? The OS will pop up this UI. And again, the user signs in. and they'll authenticate. Again, those who have used iOS registration, you might have seen this UI. So we're, again, the same experience. We check the device, we make sure it's all set, and we register it. Okay. And then this is one area where we've given feedback to Apple. So now what you are being asked to do is actually enter in your local account again, because they need to change it to the Azure AD account, because they're going to now bind your local account password. So there's a couple of authentications here. All right. You're asked again this time to add your Enter account. All right, and so now that they're bound, we're logging out. I try to use that simple local account, and the system will prevent me, but I add my Enter ID account password, and it lets me in. And when I go to Outlook, because we're doing platform SSO and using the SSO extension, there's SSO already established, and I can go through and get that SSO. And that's that. So again, this is that new experience. I think this is looking great. A lot of what you saw is built into macOS, plus what Enter ID has built to leverage it. And again, we're still working with Apple on our feedback. Like, I think this is can be smoothed out and streamlined. But again, this is going to be a much more secure solution for your users who get these devices shipped right to their homes. I mean, look, in a hybrid environment, I think that's critical. All right, so to finish it off, app management. Really, the biggest message is this. You used to need to take an app and wrap it and upload it into Intune. And that was because we were using just the MDM command. We built out our agent, and now if there is an app that you had from an existing MDM deployment, you can just take it, upload it into Intune, and deploy it. Like, that's really it. And if you can't, you let me know and we'll go fix that. And so you can see a bunch of different things, but that's the critical thing I think you need to know. And then let's get to the demo. So we just released this. So it's not just installing PKGs, but we have custom scripts with these PKGs. And so if you go into our service, add a PKG app. In this case, I'm going to show the demo with Defender. Defender needs some pre and post install scripts. You can see here. This is the one demo the others are all like really fast, and this one is a little slower. So there we go. Like, target my OS, send it down to the device. All right. And that's that. And so on this one particularly, I think the key thing to show is Defender isn't here, right, in my list of apps, right? It's not there on my desktop, and then there it is. So it installs, it ran the scripts, and it's ready to run. You can see it here, yeah. And again, that's making sure that the user doesn't have to go in clicking things. It did all the pre and post install scripts, so they don't have to. And yeah, that's the testing. So, and that's that. I mean, that's the critical piece of functionality. So those pre and post install scripts can be run on any package. And I think that fills what we've heard from you, our customers' needs on app deployment on Mac. The next piece of this that's coming, I'll get to that in 1 second. The next piece that's coming for apps is really just making them available. So everything I showed today now is about deploying these apps as required. The next piece customers have asked for is making sure they're in our company portal and a user can go and click them on demand, as an available app. And so you'll be seeing news about that in the new year, but that's our next thing to go and deliver on there. And then finally, Microsoft Mac Admins community. So we've created this community for really M365 admins, right? And so it's a place that people who are trying to get M365 up and running on Macs can go talk to each other about going. I know there's a lot of different communities out there, but the hope is that this one is there. The product group is talking on these threads and answering questions, and it's really there to help accelerate your deployments, right? Hey, I'm running into this issue. Can you help me? The community is great. There's a lot of creativity in there of people solving issues with different things like scripts or people using functionality in ways, that we wouldn't even knew you could do because they're solving problems that they need to solve. And so definitely check this out if you're interested, because we also run our private previews through here. And so, you can get involved in that as well.
So let's give everyone 30 seconds to join live. And don't forget, this is actually awesome. So don't skip it if you have the Mac machines in your environment.
All right. And again, key takeaways, just all you need is M365 to protect all your devices, and that includes Mac. We believe we're at the point where we can manage anyone's needs for Mac. And so take a look at us. And more importantly, go check out Mac for your POCs. If you haven't checked us out in the last 6 months, it's worth your time. We are there. We're ready to manage your Macs. And we got more exciting things coming. And we're going to lead this space with all of the new declarative device management, which is Apple's direction. So go check it out and let me know if you have any questions.
So this is a good time for questions from everyone. But we have how long do we have it for?
I can answer them another 10-15 minutes if we need.
And Jason is here too. So I think it was one good question that I don't believe that it was answered during the session. When you enroll a Mac device to Intune, is there a need to reinstall it, like flash it completely, or you are able to add the Mac device directly to Intune without doing it?
Yeah, we do get this question. I think the answer really depends on what you want from a management perspective. The proper guidance, if you come from an ADE device, is to reset it completely, and come in again through ADE. However, that's not realistic. We all understand that you can't do that. So we have a lot of customers who come over, especially on Mac, where they have the user go through what we would consider a manual device enrollment. You can still have a supervised device, and you can guide your users through that. And that we've had a lot of success through. You need to make sure your file vault key is rotated, and so that you can take over, management for that. But we're here to help you with that, and you certainly don't have to reset the device.
Does the device have to be ADE to be managed, or can it just be off-the-shelf purchased one and then you enroll it after the fact?
Oh yeah, you could totally do that. We support, like I said, manual device enrollment. I think generally, when we get that question, it's generally they've gone through ADE, right, in terms of enrollment, and they're like, oh, do I really have to re-enroll? If it's standard, device management, which is like through our company portal, or you don't have to worry about it. You can just, unenroll from one vendor, or from a store, you pick it up and enroll the device directly. The big difference is that if it's not through ADE, if you were wanting to lock the management profile, you lose that ability, right? So that's the one key thing.
I'll just throw it out there right now. There's a lot of organizations, the one that I work for included, that are doing cost reductions and trying to figure out ways to spend less money. And I think one of the key things that I've seen from my organization and from other people I'm talking to is why pay for Jamf or Workspace ONE or whatever the competition is when you're already paying for the license from Microsoft? For your users that you already have like a 365 subscription that entitles them to Intune. So, we're getting kind of pushed over to Intune because we have to from a cost reduction type standpoint. But I just wanted to say it's nice to see Microsoft actually putting in the effort to add in more features and make it more feature rich. Even though you might not really have to, you'll get those of us that are paying for it. And our management says, hey, you've got to use it, you're paying for it, stop paying for something else. But it's really nice to see that commitment of building out that product, even though you might not have to. Just a comment. Thank you.
No, I'm glad to see that. Yeah, I mean, like, in the end of the day, I want to build I only do Apple, right? So I work for Intune, I work for Microsoft, but I only do Apple devices. I want to make the best Apple device management product, I can for all of you, right? Like you are my customers. I want to hear your pain points. I want to go fix what I can fix. And we didn't have enough, I think, on Mac, and we've been working hard the last 2 years or so to make sure we do. I think we're there. We don't have everything, but I think we have the vast majority of what you need to be successful. And we've had large customers come over and be successful. So yeah, I'm happy that this is resonating with you. And as I said, I hope you take a look and start testing out all this new functionality we've been shipping.
I think it's a no-brainer in the sense, okay, I work for Microsoft, clearly. So I care about everyone moving to Microsoft. But you talk about cost reduction, vendor consolidation, and the ability to manage everything from one place, from reporting perspective, policies, all of those three things it's a lot more than just money.
Yeah.
It's the ability to have one platform to manage it. However, we do think, as Andy built it and Andy his team, it's all beautiful, right? Challenge us. If you have any feedback of like, good, you're selling us this utopia story, but there are stuff that you need to improve in order to make it a real one platform management, let us know, because we are aspiring to be the one platform for all OSs. Any more questions? Seems like everyone are busy registering to the Mac admin.
Yeah. Anything people didn't see? Like I think Jason, you had mentioned this, or maybe it was you, Lior, but like any big things that you didn't see us mention that you're like, I absolutely can't do without this piece of, management functionality.
I do have a question.
Yes. Hey.
You mentioned the password synchronization with the local account. You mentioned password synchronization with a local account. How do you deal with passwordless signing in Azure AD or Entra ID?
I could hear you partially about post registration for admin accounts.
Password changes or.
Password changes.
Password
Local
synchronization.
account through AD.
What if you use passwordless sign-on for Entra ID and you try to synchronize to the local account in macOS?
Okay. Did you hear that?
Yeah. So the OS itself, detects that it needs to change, and then there's an experience where you'll get another auth prompt, and it will recycle the token. It's doing it by token, really. It's not storing the actual password, but it's got the authentication token needed to go to the service. So that Apple handled that particular flow to call the identity provider again. The one thing that's going to be interesting, and we're working on guidance around this, is we won't, for the first time ever, we'll actually not recommend password policy on the MDM side, because now that you're going to be binding your local password your local account with your password, we'll say, hey, let your identity password policy actually dictate everything. So
There is some good reactions in the chat, Andy, you should see. And
So, question for you on platform SSO versus if you're one of the very few organizations that did ABM Federation with Azure. What are the differences? What sets the two apart from each other?
So platform SSO itself is binding that local account, right? Whereas I don't think it's exactly tied to your AAD federation yet. And in fact, this might be where I know what Entra ID federation with ABM does for iOS, right? We get user enrollment, we get shared iPad. I haven't actually seen what it opens the door for on Mac, but it is not a requirement for platform SSO at all. And from my understanding, again, it really didn't bind that local account that you needed. And so that's the big difference that platform SSO is providing you. So your users will no longer, like I think the demo I showed had a 4-digit or passcode, right, as my local account password. And then when we switched over the Entra ID, it was much longer. And so you get to control that password so they don't have to have some local one. Like right now, even my own Mac that I'm using for work, I have a personal local account on there, right? And so you from a security standpoint, we really don't want to allow that. We want that account to be my Entra ID account and bind it with that local account. Whereas the federation gets you in there. I do know that Apple's extended managed Apple IDs to give you some more control over iCloud, but it hasn't tied it to that local account that gets created. Hope that helps.
so I want to emphasize what is happening in the chat, because everything that Andy showed is included in M365 E3. So no extra dollars for you, extra investment to manage those Mac devices. There are some enterprise app management capabilities. Jason mentioned that in the chat, and remote help and all of the additional solutions that are already promoted as the Intune suite, that you're going to have to purchase this suite to get those additional capabilities. But the baseline, all of the Mac management is included already with your Intune license.
Yeah. And hey guys, Andy, by the way, great job. I haven't heard a lot of feedback, but genuinely, while we have Andy, please, if there are things you guys don't see here that you feel like is a need, I am curious, because we're essentially this week going to tell the world we're ready for prime time. So if you guys don't see it that way, I'm super curious. But Andy, look, my favorite part of the show, let's talk about futures a bit. So maybe share how you see the world with Power Automate, Intune Pivot, third-party patch. What's on the horizon there?
Oh yeah, I mean, and I try to kind of allude to it. I didn't know how much I could let out of the bag, Jason, but if you look at Intune Pivot, let's talk about device inventory in general. So there's going to be multiple phases you'll see. So we're going to be adding just Apple only. So I'm going to go fix it. You're going to get everything that we can collect inventory. That's actually rolling out next month. You could grab that through Graph. And then we'll be adding a UI. We have work to make a more compelling UI for just the hardware tab, right? It starts there. So you can actually create how you want that to display in there. And then it all bubbles up to something we are calling, I think it's called device query, potentially, Jason, Intune Pivot. We're still workshopping the name, but essentially in Intune, you'll be able to run a query. The one I hear about all the time is about iPhone SEs. They are the bane of people's existence, I guess, because they're the ones that always get aged out. So imagine you could just run an easy query to show all of the iPhone SEs that are in your environment that will no longer take the newest update. Really easy to use, queries that you can run is going to be great, and you can run it across your fleet, right? That's going to be there. And so we're also adding ability in our agent to do way more data collection on Mac, right? And so that's another area of investment. So when you need to run these queries, we'll be able to collect them. There's some partnership with Power Automate to create better orchestration. And we've been working through some experience. We showed you the SSO extension and creating that. So one of the things that we were looking at is auto creating an SSO extension based on being somewhere in our console. Imagine, adding your Apple APNS cert and saying, hey, by the way, if you're going to be managing these devices, let's create this extension automatically. Or, we hear about a lot of different device tagging scenarios. And how do we be able to tag these devices? And we're going to have the ability to, orchestrate, hey, if this device comes in and this user is part of this country, let me tag it as, this one option. I think it was one customer was talking about the Luxembourg. I need to tag it with Luxembourg as their location and be able to do that. So a lot of exciting things on the way. I briefly talked about in the Apple space DDM, but I showed you DDM software updates. Well, DDM apps were also announced. And with DDM apps, we're going to get all those benefits of configuration based. It's going to allow us to do a userless app catalog, which I know is a big ask for a lot of people. They've added the ability to have UI now local at the device that looks like the App Store. So you have, when you're downloading, you actually see a status. Some great things coming there. And then part of declarative device management is the declarative piece. There's the ability to actually add a policy like an if-then statement, something we haven't been able to do on the client before. So you could imagine you can send down a policy that, in the future, if someone signs on to the device, we could change the policy. And the policy, if I'm on the device, could be different than if Jason was on the device. Or if they're at a certain OS, we could have the policies change. If they get to an OS that's too low or too high, we could even hide apps, right? And so it's really powerful. And we're going to be diving into DDM. It's beyond just features. It's also about creating these predicates and how to control it. And then finally, Jason, you alluded to this, the advanced apps. So we know that packaging can be difficult. And so just like with Windows, we'll be adding the ability for macOS apps to be handled through enterprise app management. And so I think that's going to be a great feature that customers can leverage to deploy these apps for sure.
Andy, regarding, so it was a good question over there. Apple Care, the ability to bring warranty information, etc., to Intune. Any plans to do that?
Wait, say that again, Lior. So Apple Care with
Apple Care, yeah, to bring information from Apple Care to Intune.
Like the status of warranty kind of stuff.
Warranty status and information like that.
Yeah, we should. Whoever asked that question, reach out to me. I'd love to know what we can do there, because we're supposed to be collecting all the information, and that's our plan. So if it's off the device, we'll do that. If it's from somewhere else, I'd love to know so we can figure out how to pull it.
It's probably going to be through the central database of Apple, because they maintain warranty information for sales data. But it's going to be interesting to see. Josh? Oh. You raise your hand?
No, I hit it. I hit the wrong button.
Oh, okay.
It's like the share button being next to the leave button.
Any more questions? I didn't hear any difficult questions for Andy. I promised him some very difficult questions. Cool. Any closing comments, Andy, Jason?
Yeah, I just closing with do a POC, check it out, let me know, because we got the features coming, and especially early this new year, bunch of great stuff. We mentioned enrollment time grouping coming. Yeah, we are not your father's Intune on Mac management, I guess is what you would say. So come check it out. And I do mean, let me know. I want to hear. If we can't meet your needs, then it's something we got to go talk about and figure out how to address.
We have one more question over here.
What about device encryption, like file vault, stuff like that? You guys do support that, but is there a minimum version? Or a minimum hardware requirement for it?
No, we've supported that even on not Silicon, even in Intel. I think it just gets easier when you get to Silicon. Apple's made some changes there, but we do support it on. It's actually one of the first features my team did when I took this place over close to 6 years ago. So we've had it for quite a while.
It works back to 11, I think, which is the oldest supported Intune.
Yeah.
Okay, Dean, thank you so much. If you need any contact information, can share it. If you have any specific feedback, join the Intune community. It's super, super important for the admins. This is a good way for you to learn, but also to share your learnings. Jason, just verifying that you don't have anything else to say.
No, guys, I think Andy hit it. Thanks for joining, and please do check it out. That's the biggest thing. It's awareness for us more than anything. I think, Andy, to you and your team, just a ton of kudos on the work you guys have done in the last 6 months. Just give it a try, and we genuinely want to hear. So thank you all.
So I'm standing
Thanks,
the video.
everyone.
Yeah. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Andy, Jason, and Jim. Okay, we'll wrap it up. Any other comments, questions, feedback?
But one thing I want to say, thank you very much, is some of the stuff that you just heard hasn't really been announced yet. It'll be announced on Wednesday. I'm asking you to please not tweet about some of the things that you might have just learned about today, because we have not announced them yet. We'll announce them on Wednesday.
However, if you want to learn more, I don't know if Greg, I think Greg shared it. We'll be having an MTC session here on December 12th, all day, focused on Intune Suite. Keynote from Dilip, who is the group product manager over Intune Suite, with individual breakout sessions, with a bunch of feature PMs, cat PMs, everyone, so you can get more detail, ask questions, give feedback on all the things you're going to hear about at Ignite and Tech Takeoff. So if you want the registration info, I don't know if Greg shared it or I have it, let me know. I'm happy to give you the registration link and would love to see y'all here on the 12th. So.
Yeah, great. Anything else? Yeah, we'll post that on the site, and for the ones we can't post recording, we'll post it as well. But yeah, I'll get the. Anything else? Thank you all. Hope to see you all again. Have a good day. Enjoy Ignite. Thank you.